give it a bit. There we go. So, hello, welcome everyone to the 7th episode of the Kit Concept Office Hours. If you are new to the Office Hours and might be asking yourself, what is this I've just stumbled upon on the big old internet? This is our weekly series where we have guests, each episode giving you new insights into Plone, both software and the community. As always, every episode is live, every episode is open, and every episode is a chance for you to join the conversation. So please feel encouraged to ask any questions you might have on today's topic right here in the YouTube chat, and we will get all of them answered, I'm pretty sure. So today we're gonna have the biggest office hours so far with a good chunk of the Kit Concept team present to talk about the upcoming Beethoven Sprint, which is only 5 days away, next week. For this we have here today Timo, Fred, David, Rob, Alok, and Eriko. I hope I didn't miss anyone. Welcome back to the show, or welcome if it's your first time here. Talking about the sprint. If you're wondering what a sprint is, I'd suggest you go back to episode 3, which we have recorded, where we spent almost an hour talking about sprints and how to organize them and what happens there. But as a gist, a sprint, especially in the Plone community, is when a bunch of tech-savvy people come together to code, discuss, and advance a small project called Plone. We're gonna sit together with loads of laptops, loads of drinks, and tea and coffee and so on, and gonna get stuff done. Talking about getting stuff done, that's what we plan to talk about today. That's why we have so many people here, so they can each tell us what they plan to work on next week, and hopefully that will convince at least the last couple of people who are not entirely sure if they want to join Sprint to actually come over.
So, Jacob, every sprint, as you explained, we have a stand-up in the morning, we have a wrap-up in the afternoon, and at a stand-up we ask people, okay, what do you want to work on today? But of course, if you want to go to the sprint, you're wondering, hey, what should I work on? And for your inspiration, as Jacob said, we're here together. We made our own small lists of things we want to work on during the sprint week, and we want to introduce them here, each of us. And then after we've introduced our things that we'd like to work on during the whole week, kind of as a kind of meta stand-up in front, before the sprint, we can also pick a few subjects there and also discuss them together and see, because of course they're all Plone related, Plone 6 imminent release, Plone 7 related. So that's a bit of the plan for today's office hours. So to kick it off, an introduction of each team member, 2, 3, 4 minutes max. Tell your topics that you would like to work on. Short introduction. We'll go to the next, and then first do this round. And well, honest, Timo, you're first.
Hi. Thanks for having me. First time here. Yeah, I'm Timo, CEO of kitconcept. I plan to work on AI a little bit because there have been lots of discussions in the community. So I would like to continue that discussion to write down a roadmap. We have 6 PLIPs already. PLIPs are Plone improvement proposals to enhance Plone core. We have the Plone MCP that Dante is working on. We have the AI endpoints and getting an AI agent into Plone, which Rob is working on. We want to semantically enhance content with JSON-LD and schema.org. This is something that me and David are interested, I guess. Markdown support as well, me and David. And Jens proposed to add an LLM TXT to guide AI crawlers, which is also an interesting PLIP. So I would like to discuss all of them and see if we can make progress on that. The second thing I would like to work on is Mikael, who will also join us here in Bonn. I'm very happy about that. He's working on a community recognition program to show what companies and individuals are doing in the community. He made a proposal for this, and I plan to work on this with him and see what we can do about it. And the third bigger chunk is a few features that I would like to work on. We have Plate.js, which Victor will talk about for sure, a new awesome editor for Plone 7. We have an add-on for image cropping where I would like to see if we can include that into core maybe. We have a forms add-on that I would like to polish a little bit, maybe with Rob and others. And Jonas, our colleague, is working on a keyword manager that I would also like to have a look at.
Wow. So either you can give a summary or you can talk really fast. Thank you, Timo. As you see, lots of plans, lots of things. Really cool. Cool. So next one, it's not in the order I see people on the screen, but whatever. Rob.
I'm going to the sprint to work on a lot of different topics. So the main topic we shall be working on is Nick. Been a lot of development lately on it, and there's some features which are either not fully complete or some new features will be added. So first story, since we're integrating Nick with 7, the customization story would be nice that they work kind of similar. So I'm looking into those to see how add-ons gonna work and how you can override stuff in Nick. It's already possible, but we'd like to make it more standard. Next thing is the block registry. So blocks are already supported in Nick, but I want to add some more features so that you can basically determine or have some methods by default available for blocks, like converting it to REST or having links in there and stuff like that to make them more generic. Then we have the relations endpoint, which is kind of related to link integrity, which is available in Nick, but the relations endpoint is not yet. So I might be working on that as well. Then the upgrade endpoint to manage different versions of different profiles of different add-ons. Then the user schema is there in Nick already, but it doesn't support images, so no user portraits yet. So that's one thing I want to work on. And the editing of schemas is also there, but not completely functional yet. So I'm making some last changes in there. And for the rest, I'll probably have a lot of discussions as every year. One of the things Timo already mentioned regarding AI and AI endpoints, there was also some discussion about supporting different formats, so not just JSON or HTML, but also maybe REST or any other format that content types could support, like calendaring support, etc. And the last one, we're going to talk a bit about the Volta form block. There's some minor tweaks which we can have a look into, field sets and some other stuff there as well. Yeah, that's about it. There's probably a lot of more topics popping up, but that's at least my plan to work on.
Yeah, it's always the things you plan for that, at least in my individual case, never happen. And then there are 5 other really interesting, important things that were like, yeah, okay, cool, we'll see. Yeah, thank you. I'll throw myself in next. I got assigned myself or whatever. We're doing a little bit of staff functioning to get a good sprint Wi-Fi and internet setup running. So I'll be running around with some gear before the sprint and try to set up things and have some backup stuff there so that people can join one Wi-Fi network and don't need to switch whenever one of the German internet providers decides to start higging a little bit. Apart from that, I'm an admin team member in the Plone community, so I'll be present there for accounts, issues, etc. I have a long-running project that AI helped me this year, which is actually one single Plone demo images that I, on a branch somewhere, already have for the Plone 6.2. So I want to see that one. I'm almost there, and then it's basically trying to get the image as small as possible. In general, for the releases, also admin release team related, we have automated CI/CD scripts for the Plone, generating the Plone front end and Plone backend images. And there we really want to get rid of a certain hosted runner and make more improvements there. Also, even maybe trying to get also finally the next images available for 6.2, where we try to do some more experimental new stuff for the Plone 6.2 series, where people can already see how this works in container images. There's a topic for me on the community membership management, where we need to do some improvements this year. I still have to get my feet, fingers, whatever wet on the Plone 7 development, where I've seen presentations now, seen things, but I'd really like to be able to make some code now. So there will probably a workshop or some introduction for people where I will join and get the latest info on setting that up myself. And from the last sprint, I still have a promise to also look into Nick translations and things in general. So wishful thinking, I know. Half of it will not happen, but I know that 5 other interesting topics will surely show up. Victor, you're smiling. You're next. You're muted still. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for noting that. I was thinking how to start. I think that the best thing to start with the 7 is that people take a look at the 7 demo that we have online. You can see the URL in here. So you can get a grasp of what works and what doesn't. And then, because the other day when I was updating it, I was myself quite amazed at how much we already accomplished. But I also was amazed about the amount of things that they're still missing. But the good thing is that there are a lot of things that are low-hanging fruits. For example, For example, if you take a look closely, the checkbox widget doesn't show the title, right? For example, these small things that should be fixed and polished, and we have a ton of them waiting to be fixed. And I can tell you they are not big things. Things like widgets, as I said, the add edit views, the CMS UI toolbars, sidebars, menus, all these things that we want, that the core of the CMS UI, which I think that is the thing that we have to focus during this sprint and have it completed as soon as possible, because that will give us a lot of room for the next for improving, continue improving 7 in the next months, and to also test it properly, right? Because it's the core of what Plone does, right? As I said, the 7 state of the art in a nutshell is that the edit, if you log into the demo, you can log in with admin as always. You will see that you can edit any page. You can, of course, that works from the beginning, as in navigating to content. You still cannot create content, is one of the things that is missing. We need the menu for adding new content, but the add new content view is already in there. So as I said, it's small things that it's like a big Gruyere cheese that needs to be filled, but they are nothing that is rocket science. Everything that was hard was solved, was sorted out, and we only need to fill in the gaps, let's say. And as I said, the edit view is in there as well. It got a huge bump the last months, where we introduced the unified plate editor for blocks, and it's working well, but we need blocks as well, because we need only a bunch to test, and we need to complete them and make it feature complete. We have the special views also, as in the public views. Work on the search view, the sitemap, things like that. And we also want to work in a special use case that is Nick as an embedded backend for Plone for 7. These will open us the window for deploying Plone in a SaaS freemium tires. And this, I think, this for small deployments, for enthusiasts trying things out, for small sites, personal sites, it will be huge. that we are able to do that. And we need to still sort out some things that we encounter in the way. We are halfway there. We have an experimental support for it. But we have to sort out, as I said, some challenges that we faced in the last weeks. But I think that they are quite sortable. We have to decide some things still, how to handle them. But I think that we'll be able to do that during the sprint. Last but not least is that we are thinking also that 7 deserves its own repository, because probably it will never be merged into the main Volto main branch. And we need to talk about that. We need to discuss the several options that we have and if we execute during the sprint or not. I mean, yeah, we have to talk about that.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, that's it from my side. Yeah.
And what are you going to work about, Victor? But you've been saying we for 4 to 5 minutes. No, I'm joking, man. I know
we, as everybody that wants to, right?
I know you.
I'm open.
You're definitely just selling the sprint. Now you're right. Also on the Nick as embedded backend, I noticed it with creating the demo image, because you have to install Python and Node. It just explodes the demo image already. So for embedded, it's really cool stuff. Yeah, thank you, David. You're coming over across the pond.
Getting ready to travel in a couple days. Excited to be there. The thing with the sprint is you're always trying to figure out what you personally want to work on, but you're also trying to figure out what you want the community to get done, or maybe be responsive to what the community wants to do. So part of my answer to what I'll work on the sprint is what are we collectively working on. But I do have some things in mind. And Victor is, leading the charge on 7, and the metaphor I have in my head is 7 is like the new house where we're updating to all the latest types of plumbing and the new appliances and making everything new. And then at the same time, we're still living in our existing house, which is Volto. And so I'm thinking a little bit more, how do we maintain that, update the paint, replace the fixtures, that sort of thing. So there's some things that are chores, and there's some things that are adding some nice little new features. The chores are like, there's a number of dependencies of Volto which are deprecated, not really maintained anymore. And so, updating the drag and drop library, updating the internationalization, seeing if it's possible to use Vite as a bundler instead of Webpack. Some of these things are on my radar as possible topics if people want to dig into them. There's also a lot of work that's been done by a very active accessibility team recently, and so there's a bunch of PRs that just need to be finished reviewing and merging. In terms of new features for Plone 6, we have a roadmap, and I'm looking at features on there that people have been working on. There's a recycle bin feature that's maybe 60% done. We need to build out the Volto front end for the functionality that has already been built for classic UI. There's a keyword manager that Jonas has been working on updating that add-on and adding a Volto front end for it. One of my personal things I would love to discuss and come up with a plan is, how do we clean up the control panels and organize them better? And I know there's some work that was done on the user and groups control panel to organize them better for a GSOC project a couple years ago that never really got finished. So maybe we can see what needs to happen there. I'm interested in the conversations about AI topics and where do we put our efforts there, and how do we support getting Plone content out as Markdown for LLMs that want to work that way. And then there's never enough time, but the thing that always needs more attention is docs. And in particular, we've been missing some documentation related to how do you deploy Plone. And to some extent, the development documentation, there's stuff that we've been slowly working on copying over from the Plone 5 docs and editing, and there's more to do on that stuff. So yeah, at the sprint, I'll be working on some combination of those topics.
Just the things we've mentioned, all of us so far, I'm like, it sounds like work for 40 people. And we can host like, Jacob, what is the number now of people that have committed to us?
About 30.
About 30, and that will
Still not
also,
entirely sure. I've got a few registrations that are a bit iffy, but about 30.
yeah, cool. So, and to add more topics, of course, Erico.
Okay, so I'll try to be brief, even though my list is huge. First thing is I want to work on Plone 2.0 to make the final release. The idea is to implement now the missing feature is the inheritance of repository templates. So at kitconcept or at the web or at Simples Consultoria, we have our own templates that have our flavor and decisions and so on and so forth. Instead of pointing Plone to the default location, you point to yours and then you implement a kind of inheritance. You override just parts of it. Then Plone templates, there we have a branch called next. That's the main branch used by Plone 2.0. I'm going to do a cleanup. I want to do a presentation about the ideas that are there, but most important, we are going to have two new templates. Nick plus Voto without the Python backend for Plone. This is something Maki Palomaki is working, and I want to basically merge and have this, and want to create your own Plone distribution. It's something I've done many times, but every time it's a little bit harder to remember what do I need to change and so on and so forth. Besides that, repo Plone, we have a 1.0 release. There's one thing I want to work on is better sanity checks for when you're going to publish something, or for instance in npm or PyPI, or even to check for your GitHub credentials if they're okay or not. This is important. And there's a feature asked by Mac Desktop and then Philip Bauer, that's the support for non-mono repo. And it's something I slowly been adding support to it, but I still have some places that I need to probably test. And of course, implement documentation for repo Plone so other people can start using right away. Also, still on the topic of developer experience, make a 1.0 release of PyTest Plone. There are some missing fixtures there, class-based, and I would love to have time to discuss with David Glick about session or module or session-based fixtures. But the idea is to provide you with nice documentation also and some examples of how to implement that. Honestly, my personal goal would be to make writing backend tests easier, allowing people to add like a bunch of tests all at once without having to worry that much. Of course, I want to work also on community recognition. This is a topic close to my heart because of Brazilian community, the invisible people that do a lot of stuff, and we need to showcase them. And there's one topic that happened during World Plone Day in Brazil. We have some people from the Instituto Federal da Paraíba, it's a university here in Brazil. They deployed Plone with Kubernetes, and they have a Helm chart that's way simpler than the one we have on GitHub right now. So if I have time and someone there with me, I would love to basically get their implementation document, put there, and add to the documentation of how you deploy on Kubernetes. That's it from my side. And of course, whatever people ask me. So
It's indeed Kubernetes. We can't have enough examples. I know we've had a few efforts already over the years. I know Jens Jens put some effort there. His son did a whole project on it. We have the previous Helm charts there, but it would be very cool to have something that's also kind of a best practice or even a good example to get this running. So last but not least, if I'm not forgetting anybody, Alok, going to the other side of the world.
Yeah, very excited to be the first time on kitconcept office, and also like in the like physically present at the Bonn office. Okay, so this is sprint. I wanted to be the foot soldier, like all the things which is mentioned by Victor regarding the CMSEY and the block. And I want to push all those small issues which we are currently struggling with to push across the finish line so that we have at least something which we can play with regarding the 7, and we can get the help from the community because all the essential features are implemented all the way along regarding this thing. And then after so we also have like 7 routes. There are still some basic essentials routes missing from the 7th round. So I also plan to work on them. Also planning to work with several people regarding the same thing like the CMSUI and the route and push all those small issues forward. And if like at the last part of the sprint, I want to work on to this AI skill I'm working on currently internally for internet documentation. So currently I want to generalize this skill so that like in all our Volta project or into the Plone project, we can just like if you implement any feature, you just pass the feature and the skill takes over all the things and at least give you a starter documentation so that we at least have some documentation instead of the zero documentation. So yeah, that's my point.
Thank you, Alok. So if you noticed here, we are doing this not only from the Bonn office, but we're mainly here from working from home, and we just switched from Brazil to India, going back again to Europe, where we're a really distributed team, as you've noticed. Thank you so much, my dear colleagues. We've time boxed this perfectly on halfway of the hour, and now comes the interesting technical organizational part. Let's try to pick a few subjects here and do some discussion and see how chaotic this will be. So far, I think it has been nicely up to follow. A few things here that stood out. We've also discussed it a little bit. What can we talk about further? What will be interesting? We have a few topics. One I'd like to start with PlayTS. I've heard a few things about it. Victor has introduced it. He's been working on it also, shown us some stuff. Victor, what's going on with PlayJS and why should we do this? Just as a kind of, as I'm internally in the team, I start to be known as the time boxing guy. So let's try to keep each of these individual subjects discussions also to about 5 minutes, and I will just try to intervene. And let's open the mix if you want to talk. We can do rant hazing, but just try to not talk with 3 people at the same time and just see how this goes. And mute the mic again if you're done.
Yeah, I mean, we did the first episode of the office hours. We did a small introduction to what we're working on in there. So if you're interested, you can check it out. Also check the demo. As I said before, the best way of wrap what we are trying to do is to try it out. And to be honest, I would like to see the face that you're having when you are trying for the first time. But yeah, anyway, I will try to imagine that, because the face that I have when I try the new editor is a smiling face, like as in, oh my god, how comes that we still didn't have this kind of experience yet? Yeah, we're working in revamping the whole block engine, the block editor in Plone's front end, right? And we found this nice library which is called Plate.js. If you still don't know about it, it's human developer facing wrapper around Slate.js, which is the library for building editors, web editors that we are already using in Volta, right? So it doesn't really change that much, especially in the data that we are saving. it changes a bit, but not drastically a lot, right? So migrations are very easy to do. So we discovered this library some 1 year ago, I think already. We started giving it a try, and we had this crazy idea when, in fact, this idea came from Tiberiu Ihim, Romanian folk, that proposed that why not just use a single plate editor for the whole block managing. And this is what we're trying, right? We built a unified plate editor for that contains only one editor instead of a number of editors that for each block. And we let the editor also handle the Volto blocks in there. That means that inside,
that's as like from the outside what I understood now, the current Volto system, if you have a text edit block, that's a slate editor. 2 lines below, the next block is a slate editor, is a slate editor, is a slate editor, is a slate editor.
Exactly.
So one page.
We're inverting the organization. So instead of having a bunch of blocks and some of them you can edit text, you have a text editor and you can put blocks in the middle and move them using the functionality that Plate already provides, which means we don't have to implement a lot of that really tricky code for handling keyboard and mouse events and such.
But also just the sheer load in the browser, where it has these slate instances 10, 15, 20 times on large long reads, it will even more. And it will now, what I understood, it will just be one big instance of an editor where the blocks will be much lightweighter components. That's how I understand it so far from the outside, and much deeper my knowledge does not go at the moment.
Yes, that's true. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we started in large, very, very large spaces. We started to have performance issues, and that's also what it led to thinking about to unify in a single editor that handles everything.
Victor,
David said,
you should plug some of the features that it makes possible or easier to implement. Like, inline discussions being one that we've been looking into a little bit. What are some of the others?
Yeah. Do you mean that what makes this easy? Or
I mean, like, less of the technical stuff and more of the, like, why are we excited about what features we can deliver with Plate?
Yeah.
For example?
Yes, unless we are experimenting right now without it. I mean, we are able to put drag and drop into each node, because now instead of blocks in a number of blocks in the block engine, we are talking about nodes in this single editor, right? So each node is either a paragraph or it's either a Volto block. And yes, you can have drag and drop within that, the list of the nodes, but we are trying, at least in the current implementation, not to have it. And although people can easily enable the drag and drop, but we are trying for now without it, because we found out of our experience that people are more used to do when you are editing a huge page, that if you want to move things, the most natural way of going for people is just doing cut and paste, right? Or copy paste or things like that. And it's even also more quicker and also more intuitive than having to go to the handler, move the block, then all the blocks, if the block is very large, then it started to crumble and everything. And for now, we are trying not to use the drag and drop feature in there, but we'll see.
Much more naturally in this setup where you just have an editor and you can select a bunch of blocks and copy and paste them. You don't need to like use a special different way to select blocks for that.
Exactly. Also, another thing that we are trying to introduce is that for example, the integration with the sidebar. So we thought into the sidebar that it's yet another toolbar for each node. right? And it's really what it was back in the day, or currently in Volto, but in the plate scenario, it's yet another toolbar, but only that it's full size and stick to the right, and everything that you change in there, it applies into the node, and this also works very well, and it turns out that it's also more handy. What else? Yeah, well, probably another thing that it's important to say is that because people might be also concerned about, okay, how are we going to move from what we have now to the to 7? And yeah, the blocks are not changing at all. So the way that you do a block, you implement the block, will be exactly the same way that you are doing in Volto. So that's for granted. I mean, we maintain the API. In fact, we created kind of a wrapper that goes around every block that exists, and then it transforms from the plate inputs and outputs into the Volto inputs
Long
and
story
outputs.
short,
So,
there's not really any change in the data format.
exactly.
It's already implemented in Plone.rest API. So yeah, basically it should be fairly easy to make the transition.
So
Yes.
Timebox guy here. Sorry.
Yeah,
You mentioned.
sorry, but I get excited by this plugin.
We see, and that's cool. That's cool. So, but so one other thing I found. So doing this the other way around, as you mentioned, we try to make things compatible and still to able to go to 7. David mentioned something also the other way around. We have already quite some development stuff from things now that are running in 7, where we also have, of course, a stable production and really in use version with Volto. And he mentioned, I wanted to backport some stuff and get some existing stuff back from 7 into Volto. David, was it right? Did I attribute it to you correctly, or are you now surprised?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's less that I want to undermine the exciting stuff that's happening with 7, and it's more that like there's some sticky places we have in maintaining Volto because we rely on things that are no longer maintained. And so in those cases, if we have to update it anyway, let's look and see if we can update it to do it in the way that is future compatible with what we want to do in 7. And so, for example, semantic UI is how we built our library of components for the UI in Volto. It's no longer maintained. At some point, there will probably be some security issue found, and then we'll be in a tight spot because we'll need to replace it quickly, and it'll be difficult. So we already have a lot of great components that have been created for Plone 7. We have the Plone components library. There's some challenges in just taking those and using them in Volto because they're built with the Quanta styles using Tailwind, and we don't use Tailwind in Volto. But we've already talked about this some. We have this notion of we have base components that are very similar but styled slightly differently that we can use in Volto, and we just need to sort of formalize what our plans are and start carrying them out to switch over the existing components. I mean, the end goal is everything in Volto works the same as it does right now, but you're importing from Plone components instead of from semantic UI, and you still get this useful library of components that works there. That's one example. Another example is we use Razzle, which is no longer maintained, and Webpack, which is still used in the JavaScript community, but not the latest and greatest as a bundler. 7 uses Vite. That's where a lot of the community is going. There's a few things we would need to maybe drop support or change in order to use Vite and Volto. Victor's looked at that before and ran into some bumps, but I think we might be able to work through some of those. So it's worth another look.
So we've got quite a deprecations coming up there as well. Yeah. 7 is the main topic, I think. Plate will be part of 7. Plate will also, I think, support a lot of new interesting features because of a more lively plugin and ecosystem in general. I mean, this is the Plone curse we have with looking around. Sometimes we develop things too fast, then we waited for others, and then of course with every technology you pick for something, after a while the ecosystem there changes and things. Plate is rather active, I think, now in the development. It has a lot of plugins, Victor, you mentioned to me collaborative editing is also a plugin for Plate, which is something we kind of try to bolt on now, but it's not easy. But this will be something made really much easier as a feature in 7, or?
Yes, indeed. They have the bare bones to build this feature, and yeah, and it's ready for wiring it to your servers and to the way for doing it. I mean, it's not that it's going to be easy, but because you need another server, for example, which is the server that orchestrates all the inputs and outputs and the PubSub thingy. And you need the integration of the clients, but there is the backbones of a plugin that you can build upon, for example. And
Is that WebSocket based still? How collaborative editing works?
That would be the reasonable
tried.
way to do it. I mean, I think it's somewhat still open to how do you want to transport this data.
And I guess that's the challenge doing that with the Python backend, right?
Well,
It has its own server. It's called YJS with as a letter YJS, and I guess it does the PubSub thingies and the WebSocket communication. So you need another sidecar server for that.
That's server side. So you have a server side render. So you have a JavaScript component that runs like the server side rendering that gets the information, but then
yeah, I mean, maybe
still connect.
Or maybe we can
that
ask
in Sanity.
ASCO to implement that in Python just because it's ASCO. Hello,
And you're
ASCO.
Now we need to ship ASCO to the sprint, right?
And he already did it 2 or 3 times. He already did it 2 or 3 times developing async support and again. And
I wouldn't assume that we have to do it in Python. I think we can decide partly what architecture makes sense and then get the right components into that architecture.
But the current plugin is
Implemented
using
in
this server. Yeah, exactly.
Talking about backend servers, and to tickle somebody else here present, somebody mentioned Nick as an embedded backend support. But when I've heard Rob a few times about streaming support and other things in the backend, Nick is the thing where this is already kind of built in, or?
Yes, well, yeah, you can do streaming and WebSocket and stuff like that, but I mean, regarding the collaborative editing, it's not about whether or not your what type of server you have. It is more like the protocol which is built on top of. So, I mean, we did some collaborative editing tests in the past, if I remember correctly. It's like, I don't know, like 10 years ago maybe, when we created Volto. There were some tests there, and we also used a WebSocket. I think it was with Guillotina back then. WebSockets based on Guillotina, and to do some stuff there. So yeah, and I think it's for sure it should be easier to have like a PubSub setup or a socket WebSocket setup in for instance in Nick or in Guillotina than it would be in Plone. That's my guess. But yeah, I don't think it's just not just the underlying technique, but it's in this scenario it's also what protocol does it want to speak on top of that, and that's I think that's already determined by the plugin. Yeah, so that probably YAS is maybe the way to go, or we can do something ourselves. That we have to dig into it bit, I guess.
There's also, regardless of the choice of server for it, there's challenges to think through in terms of scaling it for production, because once you have multiple backend instances, then they need to communicate with each other to relay messages. And there's message bus tools you can use for this, but it's part of the architecture to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
And also regarding storage, right? I mean, like, are we going to save every single edit, or is that going to be saved in the
there's these decisions when do you
then written to the database at some point?
When does it count as a new revision for the history, and when does it not? Yeah, all the product
I think
decisions.
there's like collaborative editing, and there's basically no saving a document. That's 2 different things, but could be related, right? Because I mean, if you edit the Google Docs document, there's no save button there because you just add it and it gets saved. And currently in Plone and in most CMSs, you edit a page, and then you make some changes. You either save it or you cancel, and then you get a new revision. With collaborative editing, you could do the same, so they don't have to be related. So you could just press the edit button, and if somebody else pressed the edit button as well, then you will both get you can both edit in the same document, and then you have to see when somebody saves what happens. When I guess somebody else can continue editing, or you can just get rid of the whole edit and save functionality. But that's going to be a big change in the from the editing perspective. So that's more something which definitely we as developers should not make the decision there, but have some UX people in there in the mix as well to discuss how that should work, and if it's even
it's not,
needed in this scenario.
Yeah, it really depends on the on the context that you're working in. If you look at internet solutions, for instance, and you look at how Confluence does it and other systems, then you have the collaborative editing or the autosave functionality. But when it comes to classical websites and content management systems, you want a certain kind of like control over the workflow. So I guess it always depends, right? What
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you have your publication workflow, that you have your editor and you have your somebody's just reviewing documents, for example, and then have multiple versions there, or a version at a specific time to be published, yeah, then that's gonna be a lot more difficult. But yeah, in an internet scenario, it's definitely the way to go, I think. But yeah, for a website, then it's a lot more difficult, or maybe not needed at all or wanted.
I think our next office hour episode should just be on collaborative editing. Isn't it correct?
Like we're collaboratively chatting now, right?
Yeah, just a spoiler alert, the next one is going to be in 2 weeks, and it's going to be a review of what actually happened during the Beethoven Sprint, because now we are all
we're gonna have
oh
like
my
three
God,
different
we have infinite amount of
collaborative
hours. Yeah.
No, that's a good idea.
Can you delete a video from YouTube so that we can delete this episode before we publish the new one, so that nobody can like trace what we're talking
It's all
about?
part of our process.
That's part of the game, yeah.
Timo, you have to make 10 other videos that are more popular, and then the bad one will slowly get down.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So that's the time boxing guy. We've got about 12 minutes. I heard some stuff about plugins, features, collaborative. I could make the obvious bridge now and say, are there also AI plugins already for Plate that we can start using here? That's one thing, but I know as soon as we start talking about AI, I will have to time box 1 minute before 7 here local time, at least for me locally. So that's a bit of a risk as the kind of impromptu discussion leader that I try to be here. I want to plug one thing here. Last year, a guy showed up, a Finnish Swede or a Swedish Finn, who also found out about Nick. And we met him again at last sprint in Bucharest, Mac, and he's been doing wonderful AI-related stuff as well. So I'm bridging now both AI and sprint stuff, where he kind of built a huge, big translation engine with quality controls and certifications in there. He's using Nick as the backend because it's a Plone site where he starts managing it like a kind of web application with Nick as the backend. And what I was so impressed with, he is kind of providing us now with up-to-date translations for all of Nick, for Plone, AI-based, controlled, etc. He was there last year. We saw him at Bucharest. I hope he's already also coming again to the Beethoven Sprint. I don't know yet.
Yes, he will be.
So just a shout out to there. We've been like giving our impressions Plone, but sometimes something sideways comes in. Somebody has a nice subject, and it's amazing how this then continues and unfolds here, because I know I spent a lot of time many years ago booting only the Dutch translations. Rob, remember the pizza evenings we had at providers, at integrators, sometimes just to manage one language, and that's really, really cool what's happening. So continue my bridge. With 10 minutes left, we can go about plugins for very quickly. Are there indeed also Plate plugins that are available here? But Victor just kind of hit himself a little bit.
Yeah, they are.
There he is. Timo.
So there's an AI block, obviously, for Plate that you can use. You can ask questions and ask to reformulate, right? So the question here when it comes to AI, in my opinion, is like we have so many like existing integrations and possibilities there. The question is what is a good user interface for this, right? Is it a block? Is it a user agent? Is it an MCP? The good thing is that we have all those available as prototype, kind of. That we can try out and toy around with and see where this leads us, right? But this is definitely something that would come for free with Plate, right, Victor? I mean, at least the
Yes, the same way that these enhanced or advanced plugins that Plate already provide. One is the AI integration, as in asking things to an LLM of your choice that you can plug. You can do anything, even local LLMs, or plug into your commercial LLM of your choice. Then also suggestions, which is also very interesting, as in Copilot does. So you're writing something, and all of a sudden it just suggests the end of the phrase or the end of the, or complete the paragraph, right? I mean, I think that is also something that we are starting to get used to, and editors starting to get used in places, right? And as in Copilot with the probably the Office integration, or in the Google Docs with Gemini or things like that, that we can also benefit and at some point integrate into the Plate editor.
I didn't put on my t-shirt today, but I'll be before Rob says this. Rob, you already have initial versions of the AI integration in Nick, which you also demoed already. I think it's in the previous office hours, where you indeed see suggestions, things coming in there. And now the question is, how do we also get this into the older brother that's already there? But if you want to see some examples of what's possible there, check out the Nick video.
I think
and I mean, touching on a bit of AI is not so much a feature, right? I mean, it's not like I want to have AI in my CMS, because what does that mean? It's basically saying I want a pixel in my CMS, or I want a specific programming language in my CMS. AI is some more of a toolbox which could be used in loads of different ways. And I think we should be talking more about what's useful, and not so much do we have AI, yes or no, because it doesn't say much, because a lot of systems say they have AI, but they just, it doesn't do anything useful. And it's more about giving actual value to the end user based on AI tools than just having AI in there.
That we should pay attention, I mean, to specific features for specific audiences, and there's like whole different categories, right? There's AI as a tool for developers to help us do our job, and then there's AI as a tool for content editors to help them efficiently put things into the system, and then there's AI as a tool for like users of an internet who are just trying to look up information, and maybe that's more the like RAG for search, and or interacting with an agent that has access to the right structured data it needs to give a human-oriented response. So yeah, we should probably try to break it down and prioritize a little bit.
Amazing. An AI discussion that doesn't derail within 5 minutes. I'm really impressed. And then I have to time box a little bit. 5 minutes left. We can squeeze in one more subject. I will just shut up. Whoever comes first now with a subject for a few minutes.
Recycle bin.
Recycle bin.
I mean, there's not so much to discuss here. I think it'll be an exciting feature, right? It's something we wanted in Plone forever. You get a emergency ticket from a client that deleted something, and you have to go use the undo feature in Zope to get it back or something. There's no way for them to help themselves. And what you expect is you delete something, there's a place you can go and undelete it. So that's what we're adding. Rohan Shah did a bunch of great work on it last year, which was the core implementation in the back end for like storing things somewhere when you delete them and getting them back, as well as the UI for classic UI. He has a draft of what we need in the REST API so that we can access it from other clients like Volto or 7. I haven't had a chance to review that one, so we're sort of at this point where like there's a bunch of work in progress. It needs review and polish, and then a chunk of work to like build out the same UI for Volto that we already built for the classic UI. So it's in a like 60-70% stage. Could use a good push to turn it into something that we could then ship with Plone 6.3 or something.
Which is farther than we've ever gotten, because this is a feature that has been circling around for 15, 20 years already. It's because you very quickly, as you say, people delete things, you want to restore them, but it's horribly hard to get right.
There always have been like 2 or 3 different implementations, right? And we never agreed on one to put that into core. But David, if I understand correctly, like the current implementation is really classic UI, so it's like in templates and wired up. So the first thing that we would need to do is to have a clean API endpoint or clean API endpoint definition.
Yeah, it's already structured well, so we have like a core utility that doesn't have any UI, and then we have the UI that uses that utility.
That's good.
We just need to use the same thing from the REST API and then add the components in Volto. So it's not.
So we need to.
We don't have to change a bunch of what's there. We just need to add the missing pieces.
Okay, so we need to draft or specify the API endpoints, and then someone would need to work on the
and I think where it'll get
work on the front end.
I think where it'll get bogged down a little bit is we'll be like, oh, we're building the front end in Volto. I need all these components, but I can't use semantic UI. So which ones exist in Plone components, and which ones need to be added? And hopefully we can make some progress on that sort of thing.
We could combine that with the control panel part and maybe look at implementing that in 7 first, and then maybe consider backporting that at some point.
That will not help with the recycle bin effort specifically, but yeah, we can talk about that.
No, I'm just trying to make the problem more complex, right? So it's more fun.
That's the thing. What's
No, I mean we should keep in mind the big picture. But also to a large extent, we have already done the work in 7, and now we're at the point of bringing some of it back.
Okay, people, time boxing guy. 1.5 minutes left, I think, or something. I will wrap this.
I think well, you gonna do the outro, or shall I do?
You can do the outro. I'll do the thank you here for the people for the very polite and nice and animated discussion. I think we should just do all our no, not all, but many more of our team meetings maybe on public live, and let people show, because this is really cool. Like, this is also how we have animated discussions internally, of course, about things. And the same thing like this is happening in the Plone community in teams discussing. So it's just cool to show this. Thank you so much, people.
It's
Jacob?
really cool. People are looking at exactly what happened on a daily basis for us. In a smaller group, of course.
Okay. Jacob, last honors to you for the outro.
All right. Before I do the outro, in the intro, I said I promised that we're gonna answer all questions from chat, and that there are a few that I quickly want to go through. So, show on stream here. There we go. So, if I want to prepare for the sprint, where do I find more information? For example, project code I can set up in advance. There's a GitHub project on the Plone org on GitHub. There's a bunch of tickets you can take a look at, and for overall sprint information, take a look at the website. Then, will there be a brief introduction for first-time participants at the sprint or staff?
Always. Always.
Yep.
That's what sprints are for. We want to bring in
Easy answer.
explain them.
Yes.
Yes, and yes.
Will there be a discussion about collaborative editing? Yes, we had one right now.
During the day, in the evening.
Exactly. So
outro.
To wrap it up, I'd say see you all next week over here in Bonn. I hope as many from the chat as well. And as a small teaser, something here.
Oh, you. That's the only one sitting in the office right now.
You're showing us binary code. 1-0.
Indeed.
Second
Maybe
sprint
something else.
coming up. Oh, and don't we also people coming to Bonn, but also online. We will broadcast the stand-ups, the wrap-ups. So also online people, you're welcome to participate.
Yeah,
Final
maybe we might
words.
be able to
Final
squeeze in
words.
another office hour next week, but
Ooh,
not sure about that.
Timo, there's somebody already shaking no. Our technical masters of ceremony here on the thing we use.
I don't think we want to do that to the Sprint Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah, then I come
Good
again.
point.
It's a circle of people
you're
getting.
the one to blame. But yeah, stay tuned. In 2 weeks, we are going to be back, basically discussing what really happened. So that's it.
We just
Yeah,
can't
but
say
it will
goodbye,
be-
people. We just can't say goodbye. Jacob, last words
I'm
for you
gonna
now.
hit the
You've got the
end
button.
stream button
You've got the
now,
button.
So